next Supreme Court Chief Justice begins today. That after the High Court upheld its earlier decision, Maria Lourdes Sereno is out, and that is final. Sereno is the first Chief Magistrate ousted by the High Court. Our Justice correspondent, Angelo Mario, has more.
It fought till the end but ended up losing the battle. It's final. Former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno is out of the Supreme Court. 8 of her colleagues stood firm on their original decision to remove Sereno from her post. Associate Justices Teresita Leonardo de Castro, Diosdado Peralta, Lucas Bersamin, Francis Hardilesa, Samuel Martires, Noel Tiham, Andres Reyes, and Alexander Gesmundo all voted to junk Sereno's motion for reconsideration. Now 6 stood by her, choosing to grant her appeal. These are Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio, Associate Justices Presbitero Velasco, Mariano del Castillo, Estela Perlas Bernabe, Marvic Leonen, and Alfredo Benjamin Caguiwa.
The Supreme Court today in the matter of GR number 237428, Republic of the Philippines, represented by the Solicitor General versus Maria Lourdes P.A. Sereno, denied with finality the respondent's motion for reconsideration of the Court's May 11, 2018 decision.
Solicitor General Jose Calida, who moved for Sereno's ouster, says the Court's decision is a triumph of justice, as no one is above the law, not even the Chief Justice.
I'm happy. I was vindicated by the Supreme Court.
The 90-day period to fill the vacancy for the Chief Justice post has begun. The Judicial and Bar Council opens the application and nomination process for Sereno's replacement. And President Duterte gets to appoint the next Chief Justice.
Now, is Sereno planning to run for public office? The ousted Chief Justice tells CNN Philippines that at the right time, an announcement will have to be made.
Isang kailangan pag-isipan yan. Some people believe that it should be in the halls of Senate where that voice is heard. Some others are saying that no, it must always be from the position of the people themselves, speaking from the streets, from their humble homes, from their communities. I'm looking at the history of movements in this country, and I am looking more intently at long-term transformation of our country, because the old solutions seem to not be working anymore. Now, with respect to people's expectations that I would give a categorical answer now, it is June. We have many more months to go, Pia. At the right time, an announcement will have to be made. I recognize that.
An announcement,
so it's just a matter of waiting.
Okay.
It's just a matter of waiting for the right time to make a decision.
An announcement meaning whether you're going to run or not.
Yes, definitely.
In the preparation for a possible run, there are so many things you need to consider. For example, your awareness rankings, how aware people are of you. I mean, just because you're a Chief Justice, it doesn't mean that they know you already. So are there efforts in that direction to find out ano ba yung awareness, popularity, performance assessments sa inyo ng taong bayan, halimbawa? Is this something that you're looking into in terms of, for example, finances, in terms of logistics, in terms of what party are you going to join? As a matter of fact, have you looked at surveys? Have you talked to political parties to join any of these parties, for example?
Some people have volunteered to do those steps for me. So at the moment, I am not the one undertaking those steps, but there are volunteers.
When asked if she has someone in mind for the Chief Justice post, Sereno just described the qualities for the next Chief Magistrate. These include independence of mind and the ability to stand up to the most powerful man in the country. We go above and beyond the headlines right now with a member of the Judicial and Bar Council, House Justice Committee Chairperson Ray Umali, joining us on the phone. Welcome to Newsnight, sir.
Good evening, Pierre. Good evening to all the viewers.
Sir, can we begin with this? How confident were you that the Supreme Court would not overturn its May 11 decision?
Well, I was very confident that the Supreme Court would maintain its decision, simply because those are the numbers that really came out even way before, the original decision was made. And I've just felt that there will not be any changes on their mind about what they will decide.
Sir, earlier, Rudy Fariñas, Majority Leader, had said that the impeachment proceedings would be shelved, that the Rules Committee would recommend to the plenary that, in so many words, kalimutan na ang impeachment case against Chief Justice Sereno. What is the actual process that must be followed since, if I'm not mistaken, the case is still pending before the House Justice Committee? All right, we're having a little bit of communications difficulties with Congressman Ray Umali. We're going to try and get him back in just a bit. In the meantime, let's move on. First, President Duterte respects the Supreme Court decision. His spokesperson, Harry Roque, relaying Malacanang's reaction to the ruling and message to the ousted Chief Justice.
Rinirespeto po yan ng ating Presidente. Ipatutupad po yung desisyon na yan. Dahil yan po ang trabaho ng Presidente at kapagpatupad ng mga batas at ang mga desisyon ng ating Korte Suprema. Ang hinihingi po ng Presidente ngayon ay magsama-sama na muli ang sambayan ng Pilipino. So, like it or hate it, we have to succumb to the decision of the Supreme Court. That is now a final and executory decision. Tapos na po ang pagiging Chief Justice ni Melu Sereno. We wish her good luck in her everyday life as a private citizen.
In a historic move, the Supreme Court hears for the first time a petition seeking to allow same-sex marriage. Petitioners argue no group of people should ever be treated as second-class citizens in their own land. They say there is nothing in the Constitution that limits the definition of marriage as between a man and a woman. Instead, there is something in the Constitution that commands marriage under the Family Code be extended to LGBT couples. Petitioners point out worries among gay couples about their right to government benefits and to make crucial decisions for their partners. But Associate Justice Marvick Leonen warns them of the danger of the case. Leonen adds it is an issue which will require an intimate reading of the Constitution. Associate Justice Estela Perlas Bernabe also asked petitioners why not lead the issue to Congress, but they responded saying fundamental rights cannot be subject to political whims. Oral arguments will resume next week. Well, we asked you, do you think same-sex marriage should be allowed in the Philippines? Here are your voices.
Ang babae para sa lalaki lang po, yung kung alam ko eh. Saka yun po ang sinasabi sa simbahan, di po ba?
I believe na it's not the right time to have a same-sex marriage. But in our society right now, hindi pa open yung people regarding to that matter.
Kung ako tanungin mo, dapat.
Bakit?
Kasi nagmamahalan naman yung mga tao na yun, dapat talaga gagawin yun at a-aprobahan yun.
Oo naman.
Bakit?
Kasi kung sa ibang bansa ayaw nila, then why not here, diba?
Lahat naman tayo, kailangan ng equality to all. Hindi lang naman porket same gender, hindi na pwede. At least nagmamahalan naman kayo and wala namang masama. Okay lang po kasi para magkaroon din sila ng equal rights. Kasi hindi naman illegalize lang naman, hindi naman po sinasabi na pati sa church
Cabinet Secretaries Harry for the confusion about Norway's role in the peace talks with communist rebels. Our senior correspondent David Santos tells us more.
As the third-party facilitator, Norway has been hosting the peace talks between the Philippine government and the communist movement since 2001. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque during Monday's palace briefing said President Duterte now prefers to have the talks in the Philippines.
Who will be facilitating the talks here then?
We have a panel and they have the authority to fix the logistics of
No
the talks.
third party.
Wala na po siguro, nandito na naman tayo sa Pilipinas.
When news spread quoting Roque that Norway is out of the talks, Presidential Peace Advisor Jess Duresa took to Facebook to express his sentiments. In his post, he called the report, quote, total fabrication and an example of irresponsible journalism. Duresa, incidentally, is in Oslo to attend a global forum as well as to explain to officials of the Norwegian government why the talks will not push through as scheduled at the end of the month. Hours later, Roque sent a text message to reporters clarifying he was referring to dropping Norway as a venue and not as facilitator. The confusion and the blaming did not go unnoticed, especially with the National Democratic Front.
Una, I don't believe that the media should be blamed for it because we have, of course, you only reported what Secretary Roque said and then what the Secretary Duresa said, no, which are inconsistent.
You need to get your act together. You should be saying only one thing. You should be going to only one direction.
The choice of Norway, both as facilitator and venue, was mutually agreed upon and is covered by previous agreements. The NDF points out the Duterte government cannot merely decide on its own, say, when it wants to stop the negotiations or bring the talks elsewhere.
It's a basic principle na when you're into negotiation, you have to consider the other party and not simply declare unilaterally such decisions.
The government panel sent a team to the Netherlands to reach out and offer an explanation to the NDF why the talks are not pushing through. No word yet how this meeting went through and where exactly the talks are heading next.
The Supreme Court denies the government's bid to collect damages from the estate of the late former President Ferdinand Marcos and his cronies. In 1987, the Presidential Commission on Good Government, or PCGG, accused Marcos and his cronies of taking part in schemes to acquire wealth. Among the respondents, former First Lady, now Congresswoman Imelda Marcos, and 16 others. The Sandigan Bayan dismissed the complaint in 2010, and the Supreme Court reaffirmed the decision today. It says the PCGG failed to present documentary evidence of the alleged ill-gotten wealth. Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat says Boracay may be reopened by October 26, but she was quick to say that the decision still lies with Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu and depends on the compliance of stakeholders with environmental laws. Puyat says the DNR has found many illegal pipes from hotels in Boracay. She adds they're also working on solving easement problems and building roads. The European Chamber of Commerce earlier said it is now hard to sell Boracay to Europeans, but Puyat hopes they will reassess the situation.
We are addressing it now. That's why Boracay was closed, because there were certain they were not compliant with environmental laws. So the Europeans will take a second look.
Puyat, meantime, does not see another closure after Boracay. Meantime, Secretary Puyat is still figuring out where to put the 7 tourism undersecretaries and assistant secretaries she placed on floating status. A department order issued last week instructed officials, including Undersecretary Catherine De Castro, to report to the office of the secretary. Puyat says that despite their status, these officials are still required to go to work and are being paid.
There were some USECs and ASECs that I asked to report directly to my office because I want to review their accomplishments and what they can do for the department. It's more of a review and see where I can put them, or maybe also they won't be happy now with me, diba?
The 7 undersecretaries and assistant secretaries are non-career officials.